Welcome in to an all-new Jock Market Power Hour for this week's 3M Open. I'm Rick Gaiman, that right there, Joe Idoni. And Joe, it is good to see you. Happy Wednesday.
Markets are cooking, baby, off of a major championship, our final one of the season. As you reminded me, we've got a long wait, but we still have an event this week. We've got the FedEx Cup playoffs incoming. We, of course, have the Ryder Cup to look forward to here in a little over a month. So exciting times still in the sport. And we're basically the only one running right now, at least mid-season form. So exciting to see, and we'll see kind of how this thing breaks down throughout the night.
Yeah, the markets are moving right now. Bids are rolling in, coming in hot. We've got guys making moves up the board. There's not really that one clear favorite tonight, Joe, which I think is pretty interesting. And even if you look at the odds board, guys starting 16 to 1, 18 to 1, something like that. It feels fairly wide open.
Absolutely. And this event has shown some history of some long shots hitting here, but we, of course, have, kind of the big four tonight. And it will be interesting to see if it falls in line with the odds board or if things are shaken up a little bit, which we see from time to time. And speaking of moving up the board, you've been crushing it, dude. I saw you last week.
Why, thank you, Brian Harmon. Yeah.
And John Rahm.
Yeah, it was listen, it's been a good run. I was on the leaderboard last week. And it was kind of a no sweater, right? Because Harmon gets out to such a big lead, and I'm like, well, man, I'm gonna if he was like tied for the lead through 36, I'd probably try to find an exit strategy. But the fact that it was, pretty smooth sailing for the most part, it was nice.
At what point did you feel comfortable that you could say, like, okay, he's winning this? Was it like back nine or was it Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, it was back nine, but
Yeah.
I felt very comfortable that like he's gonna have to cough up like 10 strokes for him to finish like outside of fourth, which made me very like I was like, I'm making a ton of money one way or another here. I think I had him like 25th or better or something like that. So yeah, it was all good.
Yeah, it was absolutely an interesting market. There were some wild instances of things shifting, even though, like, in every instance, right? The word of the week to describe the open, I guess, has been dud, the controversial word of the week. And from an entertainment aspect, it sort of was that, unless you had a lot of players in Jock Market. I was sitting this weekend with my brother who had Sepp Straka and John Rahm, and there was like that 18th hole provided massive fluctuations from guys going from like $20 per share payouts all the way down to 12. So it was even if you didn't have Brian Harmon, and that's what we talk about each and every week with this sort of app and format, the excitement sort of continues, and there is drama available for those additional spots.
Yeah, so if you're just checking in and wondering what we're talking about, it's Stock Market DFS. It's just a little bit of a different fantasy game where golfers are now stocks. And here is last week. Brian Harmon IPO'd last Wednesday night at $5.40, paid out the full $25 per share payout. John Rahm, and this is a really good example, Joe, of why the pre-rank is so important, because this was a four-way tie for second. And the way that ties are broken are with the pre-rank. So John Rahm gets the $20 per share payout. Tom Kim gets 18. Jason Day gets 16. Sepp Straka gets 15. So that's a $5 per share difference because of a four-way tie at second.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to sweat because he had both those guys, and obviously Straka bogeyed the 18th hole, or else he would have had that. And then he had John Rahm, who made that sort of semi-miraculous long birdie putt on the 18th, and all of a sudden we're like, oh wow, he's definitely the highest pre-rank. He's all the way up there. And the other sort of sneaky story of the week in Jock Market, Sharma. Like, I don't know that we maybe have seen higher ROIs in the past, but we talk about how the $1 is the minimum. This guy literally went for 18 cents per share last week, which is unbelievable because you were getting back one if you missed it. So the risk was 18 cents. And I don't know that I've ever seen a player under a quarter basically per share that is the maximum that you can lose, finish it over a $10 payout. It was pretty impressive out of nowhere.
Yeah, so we had the last 2 weeks, each week gave us one of the highest ROIs of the season. So Scottish Open, Lingmerth went from $1.58 to $15 per share, and then Sharma went from 118 to 11.50 per share. So overseas, very good for the big time ROIs.
Yeah, and we get some guys like I guess Lingmerth we've seen a little bit, but Sharma we have not seen in a market in forever, it felt like. And there were certainly some other guys throughout the leaderboard that were not familiar names that we're used to seeing week to week on a basis in Jock Market that had great weeks as well. So a fun week from an entertainment aspect. It wasn't all the way there in terms of the ultimate winner, but there was definitely a lot of drama and action late on Sunday in Jock Market.
Yeah, Scheffler finally kind of gave you a little bit of a bad week, minus 41% ROI. Rory returns you a profit. Rahm returns you a profit. Xander broke about even. Victor up a little bit. Fleetwood did okay, from $7.59 to $11 per share, and that was bouncing all around on Saturday and Sunday because Fleetwood was in it, out of it, in it, out of it. I mean, that was his payout was nuts.
Yeah, and so was Victor. I mean, I had my biggest stake in Victor, and I was confident that he was going to have a great Sunday and like finish in the top 5, and that ultimately didn't happen. So there was fluctuations there. There were big swings basically all week long throughout the boards of guys that, were, I'm not going to say like in contention to win, but we're a few shots out of second place. And all of a sudden you look an hour and a half later and they're in like 46th.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between, Cam Young being 2 shots out of the tie for second, and with all those guys, and he had a pretty decent pre-rank, which would have really helped. I mean, yeah, it's really you don't want to like do the math like, oh, how much could I have won that game? But yeah, it was a very, even with, so that's the other thing, even with like the winner was decided, right? Like the winner was decided for, I mean, in retrospect, a long time since Friday night. But the rest of how that shook out was very much up for battle, which was still so Jock Market kind of makes a blowout even interesting.
Yeah, and the other sort of interesting part about it is, from someone like you and I who get on here before the tournament starts and oftentimes try to predict what's going to happen, for it to play as the hardest major of the 4, I don't think many people saw coming into the year, given the yardage, given how the thing was all set out, and basically that only one player finished above 7 under par was another sort of shocking element to the week that I thought it was going to play harder than like the minus 15 predicted over under score, but I didn't have one guy finishing 10 under par. So it was definitely, I think, an entertaining golf course. I hope they go back there. I think they're going to make some subtle changes and potentially be back in a few years.
This week, we are back to a TPC, a nice, warm, cozy blanket. So this time it is Twin Cities for the 3M Open, the second to last regular season event this week, and then next week for the Wyndham, and then we are in to the FedEx Cup playoffs. So we are sprinting to the finish line, and Joe, it is, there's gonna be a lot of water balls this week, right? Bring an extra dozen maybe, because there's gonna be these guys with water in play on 15 holes that hit one in the water, have to drop from the same spot, dunk another one. I mean, we see it week in, week out. Speaking of chaos, this ends up being a pretty chaotic event.
Absolutely, it does. You look at the final scores in terms of the winners, and it appears in some years to be a birdie fest, but it has about the most double bogeys as any place you'll see on tour. It led the PGA Tour in events in terms of water balls. You look at the overhead, and it looks straight out of my neck of the woods and not in Blaine, Minnesota. So, an interesting golf course, certainly an interesting final hole. I think one of the more intriguing ones from an entertainment aspect where Eagle is in play, and you can also make like a 9 or a 10 there, which we've seen some of the best players in the world. I remember Dustin Johnson and Hideki make massive numbers on that hole. So it'll be fun. Like, what are you from a stat profile, where are you at in terms of like the most important
Yeah.
aspect you're sort of circling the waters on?
Yeah, I remember 18 when Cam Champ had the lead, hit the year that he won it, and he just blasted it left into those trees. Like, no
Yeah.
chance am I hitting this in the water over here. And I was like, oh God, now this guy's got to like figure this out from the trees. Yeah, it's actually interesting, right? It's a pretty young event, and we've got 4 years of data. I think that you obviously have to keep it in play off the tee. That is one. I like distance more than my model likes distance. My model was like accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. It's all that matters. Keep it dry. Didn't even really like distance all that much. I like it a little bit more than that, right? I mean, it's hard for me to look past Finau and Matthew Wolff and Cam Champ and other guys that I think can kind of do a little bit of both. But this is avoiding disaster. This is keep it in play off the tee. Honestly, keep it in play on your second shot. There's a lot of shots where the water's in play on both of your first two shots, and they're large greens. So 3-putt avoidance is generally getting amped up in these situations. You've got to have somebody who can keep this ball in play, avert disaster, and make enough birdies. I don't think it's going to be a super like 17 under might win this thing. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I tend to agree with you there. It's an interesting week for me where I think different strategies for different formats. And what I mean by that is when I'm sort of trying to find an outright winner where I'm looking for first place and first place only, I'm factoring in distance a little more heavily because you see those guys. And if they get it right, ultimately, if they're able to keep it in play with that distance, they're going to provide themselves so many more birdie opportunities on this course. And that's what we've seen come to fruition. But I think from like maybe a Jock Market perspective, if you're looking in that $4, $5, $6 range, maybe playing a little bit more conservative because those guys who really are able to be accurate players and avoid disaster tend to have a lot higher of a floor in a sense from Jock Market. Maybe they're not the one power bomber guy that gets it right this week, but every year of your Matt Wolff and your Cam Champ, you're also going to have 4, 5, 6 bombers who completely implode and miss the cut because they dump 6 in the water.
Yeah. Yes. And by the time I wake up tomorrow morning, someone will have ejected themselves from this tournament. For
yeah,
sure.
There's going to be, I would say, if I would put the over under at 1.5, there's probably going to be 2 guys who just withdraw because they're just basically going to quit because they're tired of playing this course.
Let's play a little bit of bullish or bearish. This is our chance to pick 4 golfers and talk about them a little bit more in depth. We're going to start near the top of the board with Tony Finau. He is the 4th pre-ranked golfer here, Joe, at $8.36 fair value, asking him to finish about 16th or better. He is also our defending champion. Are you bullish or bearish on Tony Finau?
I'm bearish. This was one of the more interesting like profiles in terms of Jock Market that I've ever seen. So in Tony Finau's last 10 markets, he has a win. He has a $25 payout. The other 9, he's lost in every one of them. So he has the one giant spike of a win, but he's lost in 9 of his last 10 markets. He's minus 38% ROI, which is going to be one of the bigger ROI negative marks that you'll see from any player all year, especially in these type of contests. Just not going in the right direction whatsoever. Like I see him on the coverage and I see a couple of good golf shots out of him, but then ultimately he's missing cuts. All of a sudden he gets double bogeys. So I just think an out of form Tony Finau, even though he's defending champ, and I know that the potential upside is there for a victory, I don't think that this is the spot I'm going to have access to him.
I agree. This does not, I didn't even realize that he was losing as bad as he was, despite that win. But I mean, it kind of makes sense. This is a guy who has lost with the putter when the putter was really, really heating up over the course of the last year or so. This is a guy who's kind of all over the place with the driver, and he's an average approach player. And that, when you add that up, that's a pretty big hole in his game right now. And, we'll see. I mean, it's very early. He hasn't really moved off that $1 just yet, but obviously it's coming for Tony. But man, like you said, 9 losses and 10 starts does not offer much confidence.
Right.
The number 9 pre-ranked golfer is Justin Thomas. He's probably the most talked about golfer this week because he is playing out of necessity. as opposed to desire. His fair value for tonight is 7-11. That is asking him to finish about 21st or better. I think JT, we probably both spent a lot of oxygen on Justin Thomas this week. I actually think the Jock Market is the most interesting conversation to have on him, because there is a price that will turn the Bulls into the Bears into the Bulls on JT.
Absolutely. And it's all going to depend on perception and the amount of people who are willing to sort of take that risky stand this week. But another one, like if there's one player who has just an ugly of a profile in his last 10 starts in Jock Market is Tony Finau, it's Justin Thomas. He's lost in 8 of those 10. He's averaging 44% in the negative. And you can see there that the average payout has been $3.69, which is pretty awful from a one-time like top 6, top 7 player in the world. I'm concerned a little bit about the form. I'm more concerned about the potentially rumors of an injury to the wrist that I've heard sort of circulating. And I don't love that he's playing totally out of necessity. We skip one of the traditional steps in the FedEx Cup playoffs this year, where it originally starts with 120 guys. Now we go straight to 70, and he's outside that 70. So he's playing to necessarily get in, but I don't think he's healthy. I don't think he's in form. And another one where I just can't see myself, unless he's under $5 a share, really wanting a piece of. And that's kind of crazy for me to say. Where are you at?
Yeah, I think it's likely finishes between like 30th and 40th, right? I don't think he's going to contend. I think he's a pretty good candidate for being that guy who ejects himself early in this thing, or actually I think it's a Thursday afternoon tea time. But the idea, so that 30th to 40th would be kind of what you said, like $5 would be 34th or better. I'll buy there, but it's really hard to buy more than that, because I think his C+ game is better than a lot of these guys A- game, but he looks lost. There's a lot of ways that this goes very sour for him.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the fair value is 716, which is more than I'm willing to spend.
I'll buy a pretty significant margin. Eric Cole is up next, the 20th pre-ranked golfer. He's already over his fair value, so I'm going to bump him up a little bit here to $7.50. That's asking him to finish 20th or better. Eric Cole, bullish or bearish?
Okay, the fact that he's over that mark already may change things a little bit for me, but on the original mark, I was pretty bullish, and I love the level of consistency that he's been able to achieve. I'm okay with guys like Eric Cole and players that were not familiar with links golf and going overseas and playing with a poor performance at the Renaissance Club. I think that an interesting element this week will be those guys who played 2 weeks over there and now popping back into a Midwest TPC course and how they're able to adapt. We probably don't give these players enough credit for the ability to adapt like almost instantaneously, but it has to be a little bit different, particularly on the greens, going from those slower fescue greens to now back to lightning quick bent grass greens. The approach play has been so steady and so consistent. You see it there. And I really think that he can lean a little bit on some of his accuracy and his iron play to avoid trouble. And I like his upside to potentially top 20 this week. So I'll say bullish.
You are certainly more bullish on him than I'm a long-term, like I love the guy. I think he's generally a good tee to green player. He tees it up every week and he finds a way. I start to worry a little bit about the way he's been driving it as of late. But I think there's a pretty decent like Honda crossover here. Obviously he had a good run there. Avoiding the water, avoiding the trouble. I'm not as bullish as you are, but I lean in that direction when it comes to Eric Cole. But I think, and people are interested in him. He's off to a pretty hot start in this market.
Yeah, apparently a lot of people are interested already.
Mark Hubbard's our final one. Another guy who also is gathering some steam at the moment. $6.37 is the fair value. That's about 26th or better. I'll start here on Hubs. I ran a bunch of different models this week, Joe, and it seemed like no matter what model I ran, Mark Hubbard was involved, right? Even like the accuracy is going to pop up. The recent form, the approach play, the course histories, play here once. He finished T16. It's just like whatever way I tried to spin it, Hubbard's name popped up. Back-to-back top 10 finishes in his last 2 starts, 3 in his last 5, 4 in his last 7. He is legitimately on the top 10 upside list. And you're almost certain he's going to be playing out of the fairway, right? Like that. Like if he starts missing fairways, if he starts hitting into the water, he is absolutely screwed.
Yeah.
But that is generally one of the strongest parts of his game. So I'm going to be pretty bullish on Mark Hubbard tonight.
Yeah, you made a lot of good points there. I think the strongest link would be the approach play, which I just talked about Eric Cole. Mark Hubbard's actually been a little stronger than Cole on approach. 3 top tens, obviously, there within his last like 7 starts, and a T16 here in 2021. So a little bit of decent course history. My one element of concern would probably be, you mentioned the accuracy, but he is not long off the tee. He averages 285 off the tee, which is very short by PGA Tour standards. And I just worry that a course playing over 7,400 yards in a par 71, especially if he maybe potentially, as we get some wind tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow like around noon, could be even longer for him. I think the approach play is enough for me to, if I had to pick a side, I'd be on the bullish stance.
Well, Derek Wilson, 85, just put a bid in on Mark Hubbard 12 seconds ago. Garrett Higo, JJ Spawn, Nick Hardy catching a little bit of steam as well. Uh-oh, look at this. Stats lie. Already trying to get out of maybe a little bit of Mark Hubbard there. A little short action. The market is open. It is rocking and rolling. We've got about 23 minutes left to go. So here's how this is going to work. All of these bids that are coming in right now, if you're one of the high bidders, bless you, by 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight, those shares are allocated to you. I've got a couple of orders out there. I've actually lost one already. I might have to go back and re-up. And if you're looking to get involved, the code you're looking for, POWER. There is a link in the description. That'll be a $100 deposit bonus. Joe, I forgot to mention it last week, or I mentioned it a little bit later, but if you go to Twitter, the tweet from Jock Market, where if you just quote tweet, which one of these 4 guys is going to have a good week or is going to have the best week, you quote tweet it, you get the right guy, you're in a draw for $150. It's like one of the easiest, potential EVs that you could have for the week.
Absolutely easy cash grab. Use the promo code POWER if you're signing up now. The other thing is they added a couple of new elements. We talk about the pick'em, but also the contests that they're running now. And that tab that is on your screen is pretty cool. And like I was looking at it this week, there are a couple ones where you can do essentially just 3 players. So if it's $100 entry fee, there's 3 guys in there. The payouts will be like $260 to the winner, and you each just start with basically $1,000 in chips. It's fixed pricing, so all of that doesn't fluctuate, and you can have all of your money in shares of Tony Finau or all of your money in shares of like $1 per share guys. So interesting ways to play it, and I think different markets and options for everyone and ways to play.
Yeah, and as much as, we talk about golf, Major League Baseball, NASCAR, obviously it's a slower time of year, but everything is out there and available to you. Let's look at the big board. Let's unveil this big board with the live pricing. Sungjae Im at the top. How about this one? Sungjae Im has won his 50th career start. He won his 100th career start. His 150th career start this week, Joe. I guess he's going to win it.
Data driven, man. That's why you're the man.
Can't be wrong. Can never be wrong.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie there, but the form has not checked out for Sungjae. What did he actually squeaked out a top 20? Okay, so he was able to sort of make a little bit of a run, but has lost, in my opinion, the ball striking ability that he really had. I mean, you can see there that he's a slight modest gainer, but there was a point in time last season and during his really elite run where he was gaining like 5-6 strokes ball striking weekly. That has suffered a little bit this season. So I have some concerns, but to be completely fair, there's concerns with all 4 of those guys at the top. Hideki has them. Cameron Young has had 2 good starts, but was totally lost a month ago. And I mentioned earlier, Tony Finau was a loser in 9 of the last 10. So it is an interesting week to kind of see how this thing is going to ultimately play out.
Yeah, a lot more questions than answers at the top of the board. Admittedly, I like Sungjae this week, but we saw the stat profile. It's not Sungjae-esque. It's not as consistent and well-rounded. I'm kind of, hoping he can get back into it. I think it's a decent spot for him, but yeah, there are plenty of concerns. He's at $7 per share right now, which is asking him to finish about 20th or better. We'll see if he ends up being the most expensive golfer tonight. He's got the third pre-rank. Adam Hadwin and Sepp Straka are rocking and rolling early. Hadwin we haven't seen since the John Deere. Struggled there, missed the cut, but he had the runner-up finish at Rocket Mortgage. And then Sepp Straka has turned into Tiger Woods, apparently. A win at the John Deere Classic, a runner-up finish at the Open. If you like the Honda Classic crossovers, we've got those for you. I mean, how about Sepp?
Yeah, a win in second in his last 2 starts. Quite impressive for Sepp. He's playing phenomenally. He kind of, and never quite to this degree, but when he gets really hot, he can go on these little spurts and runs. What was it, the playoff event last year that he almost took almost took Will's out?
Yeah, St. Jude.
Yeah, nearly won that event sort of out of nowhere and had a second in there as well in Jackson. So he makes these little runs. The interesting one, and Adam Hadwin has great course history, but you're right, the form hasn't been great. I don't really see that price looks a little bit inflated to me. What about Cameron Young, number 1 pre-ranked player? It's rare, and you probably have the numbers for this, but I'm not sure how many times that I've seen a player lead the field in both off the tee and approach in the same week. But that was quite a performance, and maybe he just has a knack for links golf. But obviously came off a positive week at the John Deere Classic. But before that, it was like we both talked many times, and we're like, he was our bear of the week, and we didn't want to touch him. Is he all of a sudden all the way back to number 1 pre-rank, 15-1 entering a week, Cameron Young?
I think so. I think, the ability to dismantle this course off the tee, I think exists. I also, we can discuss the merits of if this actually matters or not, but he switched golf balls 2 starts ago. He's back to playing the golf ball he used last year, and he's got a T6, a T8. Could be coincidence, could be confidence, could be better feel, could be a million different things. But I think that, I think he's going to play well. I think he might win.
Yeah, I'm still sort of a little bit cautious on him. I would like to maybe I'll see it 1 or 2 more times, but by that point, he's going to be very highly respected and probably highly owned in these type of formats.
The $6 range shaping up with Ludwig Aberg, Emiliano Grillo, Eric Cole, who we've talked about, Gary Woodland, Hideki, and Aaron Rye. Hideki kind of flew under the radar a little bit with that T13 last week. He's been getting a lot of these finishes between 13th and 35th. They're not always profitable in this market, but he's doing well. The thing he gets that really helps is that second pre-rank, Joe. And I mean, he's only going to lose ties to Cam Young this week.
Yep, the second pre-rank is huge, as well as the numbers and the stats in terms of his iron play have really been very positive and on a pretty elite run for him recently. So he's had a run of good finishes. He's not making as many bogeys as he was. He is giving himself tons of opportunities and looks for birdie, and he's never going to be the most steady, proficient putter, but we know he has upside. Like if we're looking at these 4 guys, Cameron Young has never won. Sung J M, you mentioned, has won 2 events, but sort of nothing of real significance. Tony Finau had a great run in the fall, but before that had always the stigma of the guy can't win. Hideki is a winner and has done it throughout his career and won major championships. And I think that he's probably been the best guy. If you zoom out a little bit on the last 2 weeks from Cameron Young, from tee to green, he's been the best player of the 4 over the last 2 months. He's the one that I'm sort of favorited and have my eye on.
The next kind of tier, we've got JT's up to 540. Again, his fair value is 711. So 540 is asking him to finish about 30th or better. I think we're there. This is about as far as I'm willing to go. So if JT goes a penny more, I think I'm out. But we're good for now. We'll see how it goes for 15 more minutes. Are you at all surprised to see the lag on Tony Finau so early? Only 438. He's halfway to his fair value.
Yeah, I am. I think that we'll definitely see that come in. I think he's going to eclipse probably $8, maybe $8.50 this week. But it's one of those awkward weeks where a lot of times when we have these weaker field events, there is one prohibitive favorite that is playing really well. You remember early in the season when like John Rahm, it was like there was betting markets without John Rahm. Like
Yeah.
he was coming into these weeks 3-1, or we were getting Rory at like 5-1. So it is one of those sort of anomalies of a week where there could be some fluctuality, but I do think that Finau eventually will get his run. What about Ludwig? Because I'm interested in Ludwig. I think this is a great course for him because he's one of the few guys, he's averaging over 305 yards off the tee, but he's hitting 68% of his fairways. And that may not sound like a lot, but for a guy who's in the top 15 in the field in driving distance, that is a lot of fairways hitting. Typically, those players are anywhere between 55 and like 62%. He's been very proficient with the driver. And if like it's a week where we've seen people with this exact skill set, incredible drivers of the ball, Cam Champ, Matthew Wolff, Bryson DeChambeau, Tony Finau, these are where the sort of winners are coming from. I just feel like maybe it's his time. I don't know.
I'm definitely in. I mean, he is such a unbelievable driver of the ball. You mentioned it. The stats back it up. I think this is probably one of the better spots for him. Yes, he can get into trouble, but so can everybody else, which I think the way to win this is off the tee, being elite at something, keeping it dry, long, hopefully both. If Ludwig can do both, it's going to be a great week. Getting into the cheapies here, right? Like I've pointed out that I think Garrett Higo is playing a lot better. He's $3.69 per share. We're seeing a little bit of a revival from Ryan Gerard, who had a good, couple of weeks stretch in these alternate field events. Because remember, there's been a lot of these guys who are playing this week, Joe. They weren't in Scotland. They weren't in England. Some of them were putting up pretty good finishes here in the States.
Yeah, absolutely. And we obviously didn't have a contest for the Barbasol or the Barracuda. So you're not seeing some of those numbers float in on someone like Ryan Gerard, who you mentioned, who I really like, who had a very positive week. Even Grayson Murray, who had a great week at the Barbasol, is like very, I feel like, under the radar. And you're not going to see him if you're looking at the Jock Market stuff, but had a great run at John Deere as well. So those are interesting players to me. I have a lot of interest in both of them sort of in this cheaper, Peter Quest has been playing really, really well. And he's certainly one of the longer players in the field also, as well as Murray. So there's a couple of guys who I think fit a good profile, who maybe if you're looking at certain sites that don't have all the stats and all the data like you do, may not pop as much as they should.
Dude, Grayson Murray's been good. I mean, this is, I think I said this on my Wednesday show. I mean, the bar is pretty low, but this is easily the best golf he's ever played in his life. He won on the Corn Ferry in May. He had a third place finish, a 2 starts after that. He goes 6th at the John Deere, 7th at the Barbasol. He missed the cut at the Barracuda. Again, that's fine. I don't really care about that. I mean, this is a very, very good stat profile, and he's very easily playing the best golf of his life right now. Further down the board, and we can actually flip to the second page a little bit here. Sung-Yul No, someone pointed this out to me as well. He's made, hold on, I'm going to pull up his stat profile because these might not all be Jock Market events. $2.14 for Sung-Yul No. He has made 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 cuts in a row. 9 cuts in a row. The stat profile is all over the place. He might, I mean, it is crazy, but he's made 9 cuts in a row.
That's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Yeah, I'm looking at even down in the $1 range. Steven Yeager's still at $1.50. I'm sure that will change, but one of the guys I feel like could have one of those massive potentials for a pop this week is someone like Will Gordon. Elite with the driver, long off the tee, has shown the ability to pop in a few events throughout the season, played okay through the Florida swing, top 20 at the Canadian Open, top 25 in Scotland as well. So just someone that I see, like, they're all going to have flaws down here in this range, but you want a guy that has an elite skill set and a certain asset that you think suits the course. And then they have shown the ability to finish highly in a couple of events throughout their career.
5:51 p.m. Pacific, 8:51 p.m. on the East Coast. About 9 minutes to go until this market closes. The code you're looking for to get involved, Power. There's a link in the description. That'll get your deposit bonus. Here's the top of the board, and it is maturing. Sung J M at $8. He has not hit his fair value yet, which is $8.49. So $8 is 18th place for Sung J. What are we going to get, Joe? Are we going to get 6 guys between $7.75 and $9? I can't imagine we're going to see anybody at $10 tonight just because of the way the odds board is. Like, I mean, we've got 15 guys between $6 and $8. Is this what we're going to get? A very congested top?
I do think so. And I don't know if honestly, I don't think that anybody may even clear that $9 mark, which would be an unusual market for us, which is essentially asking them to finish 14th or better. But I think you're going to see the 4 big names stacked up there. I think a lot of people have interest and want a piece of Ludwig. So I think that he follows there closely behind. There will be some risk takers who want to take a stand on someone like Justin Thomas. But I think for the most part, it's going to be a very tightly packed group with Finau, Hideki, and Cameron Young, all in that $8 range somewhere.
Yeah, I guess that feels right. Let's see what else we have here at the top here. Poston making a little bit of a move. Poston's been playing some pretty quiet, good golf. Couple 6th place finishes. Made the cut at the Open. Now kind of gets back. This feels like a Poston spot, right? This, not Royal Liverpool. TPC Twin Cities feels more like a Poston spot.
It does feel like a Poston spot. Yeah, he's made some hay in the Midwest. The other one that's interesting is Griot. Great week last week at the Open Championship, had a top 15 at the Travelers, won the Charles Schwab. I mean, the guy has had a really consistent good summer, and you've brought up the stat profile multiple times where he's making strides in nearly every aspect all across the 4 main stat categories. So he'll be an interesting one. I may have to update this, but he's at 675 now. So he's probably right there in that tier just behind Ludwig and could be a one with some definite upside and is certainly playing better than some of the more well-known names.
All right. I got 8:53 p.m. Eastern time, Joe. I think I got to let you get out of here, get your bids in and see what you can come back with in terms of a portfolio. Good luck to you.
All right. Good luck, guys.
We will check back in with Joe here in a couple minutes. The code to get involved is POWER. You can see in real time how these bids are rolling in. I mean, they're flying through on the right-hand side there. Pendrith, Svensson, Justin Thomas. I have just been outbid on Cam Young. He is gone for me. I just got a notification there. Do I want to get back in on Cam Young? Let's take a look at this. It's at 780. Suggested price is $9.10. $9 would be 14th or better. If I go to 850, let's see what that would be. 16th. I'll go there, but I might have to let it go there because I got work to do. Let me refresh the big board and show you where we stand in this market. 3M open. Obviously, a lot of water lurking, a lot of big numbers in play, a lot of disaster out there. Sung J M continues to lead the way, but we do have our top 3 pre-ranked golfers in the top 3 spots, not in that order, but they are in the top 3 spots. Sung J at 825. He is your 3rd pre-ranked golfer. He's about a quarter short of his fair value. Here comes the run on number 1 pre-ranked Cameron Young. I just contributed a bit to it. 798. He's $1 short of his fair value. And then Hideki, $7.80. He's about 70 cents short of his fair value. So 1, 2, and 3 in those top spots not in that order, but close. Sepp Straka and Adam Hadwin are next. And Hadwin got off to a hot start, has kind of stalled out since we've been on air. He misses the cut at the John Deere, had a really good run at the Rocket Mortgage. He's had some decent starts as of late. He's at $7.26. He's over his own fair value. We are getting a little bit of a run on Ludwig Aberg, right? So now we're up to $7 a share on him. That's asking him to finish 22nd or better. Had a good run at the John Deere. T4 there, doubled your money. Plays okay. Other weeks did play particularly well at the Scottish Open, but can't blame him for that. I'm going to refresh this again because I think there's a lot of stuff happening here. 8:55. We've got about 5 minutes to go. Yeah, look at this. We are in a dead heat at the top of the board. 825 for Sung J, $8 each for Hideki and Cam Young. It's going to be tight at the top of the board. Moving up is Justin Thomas. There's that $6.70 right now. 25th or better for JT. How the mighty have fallen. 9 losses in his last 10 markets. $6.70. He's cheaper than Emiliano Grillo. Eric Cole just 20 cents behind that. He's over his fair value for tonight. Still pretty stalled out on Tony Finau. It's not been good. He's lost you 7 straight markets. However, he's got phenomenal history here. He's the defending champion. He sports the 4th pre-rank. He's one of the favorites to win. Cheaper than Justin Thomas and Eric Cole at the moment. Mark Hubbard, Lucas Glover makes an appearance in the show. $6 per share. Last time you saw Lucas Glover, he was finishing T6 at the John Deere. Last time you saw him before that, he was finishing 4th at the Rocket Mortgage. Couple of big-time Jock Market wins. He's returned you triple-digit ROIs in 3 of his last 4. $6 per share is asking him to finish 28th or better. We'll see if he'll be able to sweep his way into the top 24. I'm going to refresh this. 8:57. We have about 3 minutes or so to go. Here comes the run. Hideki has taken over the top spot. 8:37, 8:35 for Sung Jae, 8:25 for Cameron Young. There's that Tony Finau, up $2 since the last time we gave it a refresh. He's now up to 775. There's the big 4 at the top of the board. The top 4 pre-ranked golfers are all up there. If you're looking for a top 10 pre-ranked golfer, Justin Suh, I mean, honestly, it's a pretty generous pre-rank. 7th is the cheapest you can get, 525. Sahith, 596. Sahith had one of the longest cut streaks on the PGA Tour before missing his last 2 cuts. That's kind of how golf works. Nikolai Højgaard, 554. He's your 12th pre-ranked golfer. He's got you 3 Jock Market wins in a row, 69%, 171, and 49. He's starting to find his footing a little bit. Very good driver of the golf ball, played well at Royal Liverpool, played well at the Renaissance Club. He's playing good golf as of late. Try to refresh this again. 8:58. About a minute or 2 to go. And wow, Cam Young has taken over the top spot. So I've definitely lost my shares. He's still not to his fair value yet. He's at 880. Fair value is 910. Tony Finau 2nd. So Hideki's now dropped back. Sung Jae's also up there. What a board we have going at the top here. The big move since the last time I refreshed it, it's not Justin Thomas, still 670, going a little bit further down the board. What do we see? Garrick Higos, double his fair value. Sentiment very strong on Garrick Higo. Cam Champ almost doubled up his fair value. I heard from a very good source that Cam Champ has just arrived at Are we closed?
We just closed down. Cam Champ just got there?
You want me to finish that statement?
Yeah. The place he won at, he just shows up late.
Showed up Wednesday night. Just got there. They had a baby this week or last week or something like that. And he called ahead and told the team that hey, don't worry, I'll be there. I'm coming, but it'll be Wednesday night. He's gonna play with no prep.
Interesting.
Wouldn't that have been good to know before 9 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday night?
Yeah, that would have been nice to know.
But if there was like some type of like reporting system in place, and
it's golf, we see some weird things. Hopefully, his flight wasn't canceled. Like every flight that I've like booked and been delayed recently, so hopefully he was able to actually make it in.
I sat next to him on a plane from Seattle.
That's right, you did.
The problem was it was Saturday morning, and we were both leaving,
coming back from Sea Island, right?
Yeah. Oh, damn, Cam. Sorry, bud. All right. Well, we are closed. The market is now live, but we are gonna check out these IPO prices. We are going to see what Joe's portfolio is. Just give me 1 second here. All right, Joe, fire away. Who'd you get?
Yep, Hideki Matsuyama at 851, followed by Ludwig Aberg at 702. Was cheaper than I thought I was going to get for Ludwig. He kind of finished well below that group of the big 4. Those are my 2 biggest stakes in terms of high-end guys. In the $5 range, Keith Mitchell and Ches Reavie. So Ches Reavie is kind of the exact opposite of the stat profile that I was looking for. but it's been hard to deny. He's got like top 40s in, I believe, 9 of his last 11 starts. So he's been on a really, really solid run. And then some cheapies that I took some flyers on. Ryan Gerard, Peter Quest, Grayson Murray, Callum Tarrant, and Eric Van Rooyen. Hopefully he can outplay his caddy, who was not in the market tonight, but will be in his tee time tomorrow, playing next to him.
Not only that, did you see Circa put a line on it?
They're so good. I saw Jeff had the tweet. Yeah.
Jeff put a line on it. I think EBR is like -400 or something like that. That's so good.
The Airbnb they're staying at together has to have seen that tweet, and like some action's got to be flying around on the side in their friend group.
Joe with Hideki, Ludwig, Keith Mitchell, Ches Reavy, Ryan Gerard, Peter Quest, Grayson Murray, Callum Tarrant, and EVR. We will both have Grayson Murray shares. I'm in with you as well. Doug Gim in my portfolio, Aaron Rye, and Mark Hubbard is who I will go to battle with. I lost out on Cam Young. I lost out on, I can't remember who else I had bids on. I had a bid on Frankie Sappin. I lost him early. Somebody went nuts on him early. I tried to steal him.
Who's Frankie Sappin?
He's 32nd on the Corn Ferry Tour. He's gonna be a star. Cool. Well, I don't want to say a star. He's gonna be good.
I always lean on you for the new young up and comers.
Freaking bombs it, makes a bunch of birdies, plays well on the Corn Ferry. I hope if top 30 get their card, so I'm hoping he can get his card and we see him next year, not in 2 years. What's crazy is he is actually like him playing in this PGA Tour event, I'm pretty sure is like bad for like he should be playing in the Corn Ferry Tour event to try to get his card.
To get into the finals there.
Because it's not like any points like if he finishes 10th this week, I mean he's gonna get the money, obviously. But
he gets no points.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah, that doesn't seem right. But many of the qualifications, as we've seen with Akshay, seem a little like they could be reworked.
I think they're being made up on the spot at this point. I don't know what's happening. So there we go. That's almost exactly what you predicted there, Joe. 4 guys at the top. Nobody over $9. Cam Young, $8.90. Sung JM, $8.71. Tony Finau, $8.59. Hideki, $8.51. So everybody at the top separated by just 40 cents. Sure. Yeah, that's about right. So that's basically asking them all to finish top 15-ish for the big 4.
Yeah, what JT go for? I can't. 670?
I don't even see him. Oh, 670. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is 23rd or better.
Yeah, it's really, to be honest, like his last 4 of his last 5 markets, he's actually gone for like less than that. 490 last week, 590, 564. He's still obviously losing you money. So was a bit surprised that he got that high, but I mean, I'm sure it has a lot to do with field strength this week. And certainly he's got extenuating like motivational factors that are heavily in play right now.
Yeah, for sure. Hubs, who we talked about, $6.35, right on his fair value. We did get that run on Jaeger late, up to 615, but that is well short of his fair value. He's made you a profit in 3 out of 4. His his betting line was probably a lot shorter than people would have expected this week. That kind of feels like it could be a good deal.
Yeah, the other one, just if you're looking at from like an odds board perspective, Cameron Davis. So we didn't really spend much oxygen on him, but I was trying to get in there late and just missed it. He's interesting because he's right there with like Hubbard and Glover and these guys who are like 50 to 1 this week. And Cameron Davis is like 30 to 1. So he's at an interesting price point and I think has a skill set that could line up well for a course like this. And obviously Glover is playing fantastic. Like his last 3 starts have been tremendous. My concern and the reason that I wasn't there is a lot of it has hinged on the putter. And he said that he's made some setup changes, which he credited toward, but he's just not a good putter in his career. So as we know, and as we've seen, the test of time has told us before that there's a little bit of a red flag when a guy has a giant spike with his putter and then the price is inflated because of it, who is ordinarily putting well above his baseline for his career. That's my concern.
Yep. I tend to agree with all of that. Well, we are now live. So 3M Open Market's live. You can go in, get some more shares. You can short. You can basically do whatever you want, and we'll continue until this thing closes up on Sunday night. Anything? What's the most interesting thing you're looking forward to? I think it's JT, right?
Yeah. And Finau too for me, like defending champion, another guy that right now is probably on the outside looking in of the Ryder Cup. And he's been a familiar face on many of those teams. He certainly hasn't been like the leader of those teams quite like Justin Thomas has, but a couple of players who are really looking to sort of right the ship. And then I want to see what Ludwig's able to do, because I just think this is a perfect tailor-made course for his game and a good spot with a weaker field that he could maybe make some early noise in his career.
Yeah, the JT's been providing a lot of cover for Tony Finau.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
Months. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Okay. Let's do it. I love it. We'll be back same time, same place, Wednesday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time for next week's Wyndham Championship. But for now, follow Joe on Twitter at TorPicks. You can find me at RickRunGood. This has been your Jock Market Power Hour for the 3M Open. Good luck.
See you guys.